Hello, welcome to the Cinema Wave podcast. Today we are going to be talking about the new horror thriller film Weapons. Much anticipated from me. I think everyone here was excited to see it, and boy, did it deliver. I'm Sean. I'm joined today by Zach Miller.
How's it going, man?
And also Mikey Penniston.
Hello, hello.
Guys, how do we feel about this movie?
It's dude, thanks for talking about this. I know you were really excited about talking about this movie. It's gotten 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and everyone is always somewhat skeptical about a movie getting early reviews like that, but I think that this movie really delivers on every level. We were talking about a little bit of that off camera, but it just has a great cast. It has a really constructive story. The way that they do construct the story too is it feels like a mystery, along with humorous elements, great performances, always keeps you on the edge of your seat, both in the sense of like you want to find out more information as you go, as well as the horror. You're kind of afraid around every corner that the camera is going down. And I think that Cregger is really good at understanding horror without cheaping out on jump scares. And I think that this is a perfect example of that following Barbarian. But yeah, Michael, give me your first impressions, man.
No, I definitely agree with everything you just said. Especially coming off of Barbarian, that watch. I knew what to kind of expect for this film, like the tone wise, but I definitely did not expect fully what we got. And to have like this comedy mixed with a thrill, I wouldn't even put it in the horror category. It's just like this, like it's a dark comedy mixed with like a thriller, and to like see the way that they do it, or the way that Cregger does it, it's very phenomenal. Honestly, I think that the cast, they very much supported the film and backed it up. Just their performances were good. They were great. I think that what's it called? Just even the editing of the film. It's just like you said, it keeps you on your toes the whole way through, and there's just so much that I could say. I'm trying not to say because I know that this is an early review, or at least the early statements with it. But I don't know. I feel like this is an example of bringing this style of film back, this thriller style. And I'm gonna leave it just very short for now.
Yeah. I feel similarly. I had really high expectations for this movie. I have a buddy who had early screening to it, talked it up. The trailer came out. I thought it looked really intriguing. Great concept behind this, almost undeniably. Whether or not the execution was good, I thought the premise was really intriguing. I was a big fan of Barbarian. I didn't think it was like the movie of the year or anything. I know people felt fairly similar to me, where I think that it had a super strong start, super strong middle, kind of weaned off in the third act like a lot of horror movies do. But Zach Cregger definitely grabbed my attention. I also know him from Whitest Kids You Know, sketch comedy show. He's another person that came from comedy into the horror scene, a lot like Jordan Peele, which we have a funny connection between Zach, this movie, and Jordan Peele a little later we can talk about. But yeah, overall, man, I thought this was a great time. I thought this is a really effective film. I think it's tough to not fumble a third act in a horror movie. It's genuinely hard. And I think that third act here is great. I think the whole thing kind of sticks the landing. It's really interestingly structured and casted and performed. There's a lot to love here. And yeah, I guess we could kind of just like get into it, right? So I don't want to I'm going to try and avoid spoilers, but I think it might be difficult because I want to start talking about a lot of the stuff in this movie. So
Sure.
Should we give the spoiler warning now?
Sure. Do you want to start with the making of the movie too, and like the behind the scenes?
Yeah, sure. Why don't
before we get to the plot?
Yeah, why don't we go into the a little bit of the BTS behind this movie, kind of leading up to it? Sure. So you're pretty well versed on that, Zach. I'll let you take that away.
I was looking at just some articles reading about the film, and you mentioned Whitest Kids You Know, and Cregger's partly attributes the inspiration to this film with his co-creator's sudden death in Whitest Kids You Know. Trevor Moore, and when he basically went to film school with him at School of Visual Arts, and they had pretty big success with Whitest Kids You Know, and then at some point his best friend died, and then he said in Rolling Stone that I wanted to do something honest, and I found that as I kept writing, the more I identified with all the people I was writing about, the more this became something like an honest diary of my inner shit. he actually talked to Ari Aster about this, and he said, I don't know what I should do with the personal stuff. And Ari Aster said the personal stuff is what makes this work. Don't be ashamed of it. So he basically wants to focus on how the town is dealing with the sense of loss with the kids. Mm-hmm. That's something that I was immediately drawn to in the trailer too, of like, what is anybody how is anybody supposed to imagine 17 kids just getting up from their beds at night and going missing? Like that's an unfathomable loss. So Cregger certainly, there wasn't an extreme version of that, but it's definitely embedded into the sense of loss and grief and passing with time, of like how you lose connection with somebody, or how like a sudden disappearance of one of your best friends goes through it. And then he adds the horror details into it. So I think that is really interesting. Obviously the film doesn't focus on just one person. So it's about the 17 kids that goes missing. And then how is Julia Garner going to explain herself too, amidst all this terrifying stuff? So I thought that was really cool. And then he also really was drawn to Magnolia. And he really wanted to think big in that kind of sense. In Entertainment Weekly, he said, I love that movie. I love that it's kind of a bold scale, and it gave me permission when I was writing this to shoot for the stars and make an epic. I wanted a horror epic, and so I tried that. So you and I haven't seen Magnolia. Have you seen Magnolia?
I have not, no.
Okay, it's been on my list for a while. I think it's been on your guys' list for a while too. But it's like a 3-hour movie, and it's one of PTA's like best regarded among people. So I don't really want to research it too much, but I feel as though it's a character-driven piece, just with grand proportions. And I think that he does hit the nail on the head with this film too. It's just like he focuses on the supporting characters and how they'll contribute to the main narrative in that kind of way. All of the supporting characters in this movie kind of feel like a Fargo sense, like they all have their quirks and their like just wild subplots that they go on. And this movie is still under 2 hours, which I thought was really impressive, that they were able to make very charismatic supporting characters and then put that in the main story, and all without taking away from the main narrative. Because I think if you just made this a detective piece of like, where are the kids and then how many places they're searching, you could lose people, but they still find a way to make the horror embedded with the search for the kids and that kind of stuff. And I really like that side of it. But was there anything that stood out to you, Sean, about like just the story structure from a screenwriting point, and like how did you feel this separated itself? Like you talked about how it was better than Barbarian in the third act, but like was there anything else horror that you felt it was improved on?
Sure. Yeah. So I was just talking to some friends about this actually. So I it's weird. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's new to you guys on the podcast. There's a quote that I love about writing. It's from George R.R. Martin, who did Game of Thrones, and I think it's something along the lines of the only thing worth writing about is the human heart in conflict with itself. I think that's a great quote. I like almost completely agree with it. So, you know, hearing like the backstory that Cregger wanted to come into this with something personal. A lot of the times I feel like horror is a genre that seems to like get away from the traditional like storytelling rules, right? Like a lot of the times you don't need to do great character work in a horror movie as long as it's scary. A horror movie doesn't necessarily have to be about something. It can just be something scary with a mass killer. Recently, there's this new idea of like elevated horror, right? That's this term that gets thrown around a lot with films like Sinners and Get Out and Ari Aster's work. A lot of it is like horror with a higher purpose, right? To me, it's just a good movie a lot of the time. It just means that it's a horror movie that's following the traditional rules that come with screenplays, which means that it comes with a theme, it comes with good character work, it comes with dynamic storytelling and hero's journey, 3-act structure, all that shit. I think what makes a movie special is when it does something like what this movie does, which is it has all those elements. It's not, it's not lessening itself to be a horror movie. It's not taking away all these great character things. It's actually adding on top of it a super dynamic structure, which I guess is light spoilers. But this movie jumps all over the place. It's non-linear. We don't follow one person. you're led to believe that Julia Garner is the protagonist of this movie. And I'd argue that she's just one of maybe 5 protagonists in this movie. That's really intriguing. That's a kind of story structure that I don't think I've ever seen in a horror thriller movie. And I think when we're in a good spot right now in the genre, because this is a genre I really care about, where we're just doing weird shit now. We're adding stuff on like a meta narrative level that really intrigues me. And I love that we're dipping into this elevated horror scene, right? Of weird structure, weird characters that are quirky and like don't just exist to die. Real themes behind this and real good messaging, and it's personal and it's oppressive and it's about grief. It's exciting to me, and it means a lot to me to go and see a movie that is marketed as, here's a scary thing that has a soul behind it and has heart. It's rare in this genre. And I think that we're on the up and up. So that's really special to me. I think this movie does a lot of things right.
Yeah. Michael, I have a question for you. So there was another article that we saw. There's a major set of recasting with this movie. So 4 of the 5 principal actors were supposed to be different actors. And I have a question for you, given these names that I'm about to throw you. Do you think that the movie would have been better or way different, like, and maybe less, maybe worse?
Okay.
So Julia Garner's role was supposed to be played by Renat Rinsvi, who it was in The Worst Person in the World. Brian Tyree Henry was supposed to be Benedict Wong's principal role. Pedro Pascal was supposed to be Josh Brolin's Archer role. Tom Burke from Black Bag this year was supposed to be Alden Ehrenreich's police role. Do you think that the cast with those respective actors would have been better than what we got? Or do you think that it's perfect the way that it is now?
I am going to say I think it is actually much, much better. Like very perfect and much better than it would have been, to be honest. There are a few names in that list that I can definitely see that I'm just curious to see how those performances would have gone. Brian Tyree, I'm a huge fan of him. And so I definitely would have loved to have just seen how he would have taken that performance, being that like the principal role in that was just so that I felt like his performance brought out like a body horror element into this film, which was like the only sort of character to really bring that out to the level that he did. So to see somebody like Brian Tyree Henry doing something like that would have been really interesting to see. But at the same time, I can't see anybody else but now Benedict Wong in that role, just because of just the way that he was able to portray his face and certain things. And so I don't know. I feel like the cast that we got with this version here, not only did they all again just like supply everything they needed for their roles, but I don't know. I just felt like the faces that we got with this were I don't know the right way to truly put it. I don't know. I just felt like they represented these characters a lot better than they would have in any other actor's hands. I feel like having somebody like Josh Brolin in this film, he just brought like a level. Like, I mean, we already know that he's a great actor, but like he just brought a level of seriousness to this film, and like that, like his character was just so kind of like powerful and anything. Something that I don't think somebody like Pedro Pascal could bring. But personally, again, Josh Brolin is just like a great actor, and then Julia Garner, again, with the year she's having, like I feel like it was the perfect time and to get these people, just because of where they're at in their careers, everything like that. How do you pronounce his name? Is it Alden?
Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich.
He was Solo.
Solo. That's right.
That movie. Yeah.
I'll never get his name right, to be honest. but he even just backed it up, and he's like an actor that, you know, he's been in a few things since Solo. Very like kind of like quirky, weird roles if you catch him in like the right thing. But this was something, again, like with his character, that it was nice to see. You know, it wasn't anything. I don't know if it was anything new. It was new for me. But again, there are just certain I can't picture now that I've seen this, anybody else portraying these characters the way that they were done. So I think it was perfect. the way.
Yeah, I think sort of what you're getting at, I feel similarly about, which is that there's a lot of people in this movie that I feel like could become known for being in this movie.
Yeah.
Like they do such great jobs in the roles that they're presented that I feel like, you know, if you hadn't seen Ozark, if I was referring to Julia Garner, I'd be like, yeah, she's the teacher in Weapons. Because she's great in this role. Her specifically, I'll just shout out. Like, I've been trying to sing her praises. When we did the Fantastic Four review, I said something similar. I think she's excellent. Like, one of the best, like, working actresses. She's so natural in this role. But I also attribute that to the writing. Again, like, I think for a movie that's what it is, it gives so much character to this woman who didn't need the character. Like, she could have just existed to be, like, she fills a role in the plot, but I think she also fills a role in the theme. And that's really like special storytelling. And she's so natural in it. It's such a complicated role. And part of me really wonders like how much of this is in the script and then how much of this is just like the sadness in her eyes that I can like read what's like behind her, you know, like it's just really like incredible acting. And I feel similarly about Brolin. Like I get a real sense of like his anger just in little things, in little moments. Like small beats with the character, you just kind of get like his whole mindset, that he's like polite and he's still doing his job, and he's like, you know, he goes to the construction site and he's like a professional, but he goes home and he's just so tortured he like can't even talk to his wife, right? Like it's just, there's great character work in this movie and it's complemented by great acting and it just builds a really strong narrative. Do you feel the same way, Zach?
I was even going to add off of that. I feel like that all 4 or 5, besides the principal, I would say that they're all destructive in their own ways and they're almost weapons in their own ways of their personalities. Because
100%.
there's like Julia's just going through her own inner grief. She's transferred from another job.
Alcoholic.
Alcoholic. Paul is also an alcoholic who's the cop, and he's got a history of adultery and he's just got problems that he's dealing with internally. Archer kind of is just his outrage and outbursts. That's the only way that he sees that he can accomplish things. And Austin Abrams is a junkie, and he's trying to basically find his way with. I mean, honestly, he's kind of a drifter. He just gets thrown into this. He's like accidentally thrown and caught up into this situation, which is also great, which we can get into as well. But before we get into the plot, there's just 2 more things I wanted to add. When they were bidding for the script for this movie, New Line and Warner Brothers outbid Monkey Paw Productions and Jordan Peele by $7 million. So they acquired the script for $38 million for a budget. Jordan Peele resulted in firing his 2 managers. The one manager also represents Zach Cregger. So I have a feeling there was animosity at some point. Also, it's a great script. It's really up his alley.
It is.
And we won't have to go into it too much, but you have to imagine the changes that, if any changes, that Jordan Peele would have made to add a little bit of his own style or maybe his own influence in the casting. For what the film could have been. But it seems like he really loved this script. And it goes with it. But yeah, go ahead, Michael.
One thing I definitely want to add to that, just because seeing like the structure of this film too, at one point I was watching this and knowing, I remember hearing that at one point. So just, again, that's like such a funny piece of it all to have Jordan Peele fire his manager over it. But while I was watching this film, at one point in the film, I was just like, wow, this is giving me almost like a Nope vibe. And now to hear that, because Nope followed a kind of a similar structure where it's like you kind of saw like, I mean, like they focused on like these creatures rather than like people in the story. But hearing that and then knowing that Nope came out, it's almost like I'm like, oh snap, he had to make his own version of this, you know, his own weapons with Nope somehow, some way or another. And so I don't know, I just it was funny to hear that, and then like I had that connection when I watched the film. So it's just like, wow, like what? But I can't imagine what it would have been. A completely different film again. Like again, we spoke a little bit before, but just to think of all the variations of casting and like all the ways this film could have gone, it's really interesting. And he definitely would have made this. I don't want to say it, but like he would have made this like almost like a black horror film, and like just knowing he could have, because we would have produced it. I don't know if he would have put that much of a sense into it, but like just to think how like that could have ended up being like, which is like, I don't know. It would have been something completely different. So it's interesting
to think about. Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
So
Yeah.
I think this is a concept I agree that I think could have gone so many ways, and I'm gonna give the spoiler warning because I kind of want to talk about the way this movie unfolds now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not expecting. Spoiler warning. Get out of here. A witch, a modern witch. Such an interesting take on a horror movie villain. I really, and I like how long it makes you wait for it. This is a patient, slow burn movie, and it really makes you kind of like try to figure everything out. And it gives you little tiny breadcrumbs, and just when you think you're going to learn something, it pulls you right out. And I think that's super intriguing. Yeah, I did not think that was what this movie was going to lead to, but I really like it. I think there's a lot of symbolism that leads to it that seems obvious now. I mean, witch is literally written on the protagonist's car. We probably should have seen it coming. I mean, it's a figurative witch hunt on Julia Garner's character. This idea of sort of you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think this movie in a lot of ways is about addiction and obsession, and how that is sort of like the force that overcomes people. Like, if I'm trying to read this as a metaphor, the way that I read the ritual that this witch does, right, which is she breaks the little stick, she basically takes over your mind, controls you, gives you one singular goal. I kind of read that as a metaphor for some kind of obsession or addiction, and how that could like take over somebody basically. And I see that a lot in Julia Garner's character, with the alcohol, the drinking, trying to cope. Same thing with the cop. Same thing with Josh Brolin's character with his anger that kind of like possesses him, takes over. What gets the drug addict obviously is a little more, apparent. But I think there is like this underlying thing of, I don't know, like abuse in a lot of different ways. There was a great scene in the finale, or like the last segment, I guess, with the little boy, where Gladys, the witch, the villain, tells him like, I'm gonna hurt your parents or something to that extent, where they're stabbing themselves with the fork, which is a great scene. But it was so evocative to me of like the shit that I would hear as a kid in school, of like what a stranger might tell you that you can't believe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of like, oh, like they might threaten to like hurt your parents or something, and it's like you can't like go with them under any circumstance. Like it invoked a lot of things like that I remembered like as imagery from when I was a kid, and a movie that's kind of centering like the horror around kids, that like really spoke to me. It's like about witches and your parents being hurt, and this idea of like people going missing in the woods and seeing a clown, or like what looks like a clown in the wilderness, right? It's like, it's childlike. And I thought that was like super intriguing to me. I think it's effective imagery, and it brought me back to like a time and a place where there was like an innocence lost kind of thing going on. And I just thought it was executed really great. Did you guys like kind of feel similarly about the imagery? Are you like agreeing with what I'm kind of pulling from it?
I definitely agree. I didn't view it that way at first, but I definitely agree with that. I feel like it's.
Well, I want to know what you think. Like, because that was sort of the reading that I got from it, but I mean, I could be totally off. I don't know what Zach Cregger wanted to put out, but I think the art kind of falls to the viewer at a certain point. Like, what did you interpret the movie as, or like being about? I guess
I definitely got the sense of abuse for sure in that, just because the way that it followed each of these characters, and again going back to the beginning of this conversation, hearing how much like he wanted to take the personable side out of this is really like. I can't even imagine how this film would have been if he didn't do that. But with this film, I see it. I got definitely harm to one another. I didn't really get abuse, and now I definitely see abuse, which is funny. But I saw, my mind immediately went to, obviously so, with the setting of it all being like these kids were school, everything like that. I knew it was gonna go. I was immediately getting some sort of analogy to like school shootings and things like that, and I was like, oh, are we gonna touch this
right.
This tough what is called subject right here? But I know even with something like that comes a level of abuse and harm, and like to put it in like the way that you did, and like the kid's point of view, and especially the last perspective that we got in this film, especially because I feel like that's where I really see your take on it coming out, that innocence from a kid, because I agree with that for sure. I feel like mixed with the idea of the setting of it all and a kid's perspective, it's really just showing again like how like we all any like adult in any sense, is a harm to these people, but they're also harming themselves, like we've already addressed. And it's like the way that you can be a harm so much to yourself that it can pour out into other people in other ways and like the kids and some stuff like that. And like obviously that's like a very dramatic telling of that, but like I just got this version of like harm in the sense of the school.
Yeah, like collective trauma.
Yes.
I kind of get what you're saying. Like one big event that affects an entire group of people and how it's affecting them. I can totally see that.
It's especially with somebody like Josh Brolin's character, because like I feel like again, if like, this had nothing to do with school shootings, by the way, but like what's it called? Somebody like Josh Brolin's character, like the effect that he had from it is like the same effect you would have from like what are we doing? Like who's like in these schools taking charge, all these things, what I'm saying, and like everything kind of plays out of the school into the town. You know
I don't think that's a stretch at all. I think like that's a super valid take.
Okay.
I get like a lot of what you're saying is very like resonant. I feel like of just like the PTA meetings and the parents panicking, trying to like blame a teacher. Like there's a lot of like school tragedy imagery. There's like, and obviously weapons. You have like the gun.
I was just about to say that.
I could totally see that. Again, I don't know Zach Cregger's intention, but I think that is an interesting read. So do you have more you want to say? Or?
I was gonna bring up the gun, but on that,
the gun is definitely an interesting part of that reading. Zach, what'd you get from this?
I'm still like kind of like I agree with everything that you're saying. I'm kind of like unpacking more of the messaging behind it still. But I really think that it could also be like Gladys is a symbol of like either the devil or, grief and pain and harm that's coming, and then everyone is an unwilling victim, when something comes around, and people can get possessed by that tragedy in a way. Or like there's even these sequences when she goes to the principal's house, they're watching Nat Geo and they're watching the ant get possessed by the cortina's too, which I was thinking about Last of Us as well.
Right. But a lot of parasite mentions. In this movie. There's
like in that situation, the insect is unwilling to that. It's taking over their mind. It's also paralleling what she's doing to the people. It's unwilling possession, but like even grief, it completely wipes you out. Like especially the loss of a child. Like that's something I can't begin to imagine. But it changes everything about your headspace. Like you can see Archer is dealing with that every single day. He's replaying the video. Julia Garner is like alcoholism. Like she's going back, she's buying bottles. Like she has no idea what to do. She's having sex with Paul and she has no idea. Like it's just weighing on them, and they're trying to find a way out of it. But there's no possible way, even before the extreme bits come, that they can move on the same way from a loss like that. So it could, even what Cregger was saying about the loss of his best friend, like your brain chemistry is altered when you lose somebody close to you, or just a sense of grief and pain in that way. Like, so maybe it's a symbolism, and it's got a lot of messaging, honestly. But it's what you said too. It's about how you make your characters intertwined with that messaging. And then they also presented the structure of the story in a creative way, on top of the horror finding its unnerving bits, its extreme bits. The jump scares don't outdo itself. Like it's not a paranormal movie where it's like jump scares are the gag, it's about like, how can we unsettle the audience? And these are things they could relate to in a way. And then we're just going to push that line far. That's what makes it a movie. But yeah, I think that's my 2 cents on it.
See, and isn't this great? I feel like look at this. We all came away from the movie with like a different read on it. It meant something different. Like, that reminds me of Nope. You brought up Nope before. And I feel like Nope was a movie that I saw and I was like, that movie felt like it was about a lot of things. Yeah. Like there was a lot of things that are being said in that movie, and you could like attach to any one of those things. And I feel like it's a similar thing here. I think there's a lot being said, and like we each got a personalized reading on like what stuck out to us. And that just means, like, to me, that's good filmmaking. Yeah, I think that this is just really effective storytelling. And it's a thematically rich piece. And again, in horror, that's rare, I think. Like, it's a genre that doesn't necessarily lend itself to that. And I think that's why a lot of people are calling this a thriller, including me. I think it feels a lot more like a thriller, despite the marketing kind of being more horror adjacent. There are jump scares. There's like scary imagery. The classic like fairy tale idea of a witch is very like horror genre. But yeah, structurally it does feel like more of a thriller and more of a drama. And a lot of the themes are more sad than they are scary.
Yeah, like I almost got like a Prisoners type of vibe at a certain sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I think it's also the missing kid thing too. Like the structure is the thriller stuff because you're like, okay, well, where are the kids? First, we have to find out where the kids are. Second, we have to figure out who's going to get involved. Then you start seeing a couple of them get involved. Like, oh, what's going to happen to the druggie when he goes in the house? What's going to happen to Paul when he goes in the house? How is this even gonna wrap up? Like, is someone gonna confront Gladys? Is she gonna like slip or something? Like, is Julia Garner and Josh Brolin, are they gonna find something on the map that points them in that direction? So it's just like the anticipation of peeling back the onion, and you start to like sprinkle in like this person's discovering it. Oh, what happened to that person? Like it cut away from that. Like we're seeing the structure. Like every perspective, it gives you another inch on the main story structure, which was great. And then it just flips to the next person. You're like, oh man, I wanted to figure out. And then because it goes back and it keeps you anxious for that next piece of the puzzle, which is great.
It's very competent filmmaking. It's very intentional, like where it cuts away and when it decides to stop telling you things. And it seems just like very well thought out. Yeah. I think my favorite example of that is when Benedict Wong attacks Julia Garner at the gas station. And then it makes you wait like half an hour to get back there. I think that's really great. That really like makes you fucking lock in and like have to know what the hell is going on. I think it's really effective. I don't even think we go right to Benedict Wong after that, right? We go into the druggie. Right? Right after, because it's Josh Brolin that gets to the gas station. We see the attack. We cut away. Then I think it goes to...
Or maybe Paul, one of them.
True. Could be Paul. And then so it's a long gap, like a really long gap in between when we get that reveal. And I feel like if that had kind of been played out and explained in the first act, it really would have like hurt the movie. It would have lost a lot of the intrigue. And I love that we like just the way the information's presented, I think is really smart here. I think it's really well done. So I kind of want to talk about like the tone now, because there are some laughs in this movie, and I think that's really interesting because I think that again, it's a horror thriller, right? We're in like that kind of domain, and recently I think a lot of horror movies have been more open to making you laugh. How do you guys feel about that? Because I have like some mixed feelings on that in general. In this movie, I'm pretty positive on it, but generally speaking, like Mikey, how do you feel about like laughs in horror movies?
So it is definitely for sure a new thing. I could definitely agree on that. I feel like Jordan Peele for me introduced that
I think he's responsible for a lot of it.
Yeah, right. And so I what's it called? I'm very 50-50 with it. I feel like it is very effective, and it's cool to see. And I always appreciate comedy in any sort of film, even if it's like in the slightest bit. And so to be able to blend a horror film, with that sort of sense, it's really cool. My only gripe with doing stuff like that is I feel like it can be kind of like a cheap way out in some ways. I love the ending here, but there are a lot of comedic you could arguably a lot of comedic moments with the ending. I think it's still super strong, but also coming off of like a film like Barbarian, and think about like the ending of that, like you know what I'm saying, like it's again it's still a strong movie and I really appreciated it, but like think about like Mother falling off like that. You know what I'm saying, like there's definitely like comedic bits whether you want to like look at it or not, and like there was a bit like granted I don't know if like kids pulling apart a witch is like comedic, but like
it's definitely intended to be funny.
And it was
like
satisfying.
The way that it's cut and edited, and it's definitely intended to be comedic, and the audience was laughing, at least in my theater. Like when she's running through the backyards and they're chasing her, and they do like a literal like Scooby-Doo fucking scene where she's like in between two houses like ah, and she goes by, and then the kids come by and they like it's very like intentionally funny.
I
don't know, I'm kind of with you where I think like I appreciate that it's funny and it's effective comedy, but I worry like is it souring the impact? And I think what this movie does that kind of saves it for me is like I'm very of the opinion that a horror movie should not have a happy ending.
Okay.
That's how I feel. Like I don't like a happy ending. And this movie is just happy enough for me where it's like nice. Everybody got their kids back, but no one didn't lose something. Like the drug addict's dead. Paul the cop is dead. Julia Garner lost her boyfriend, had to shoot him in the head. All of the kids, it's implied, are like not going to be okay ever. Like they are going to be fucked up. The last note is like maybe he'll talk again, maybe. But like that's how messed up he is. He's not even talking. Like really the only person with like a quote unquote happy ending is Josh Brolin, and even then, like a lot of trauma that this guy just went through, right? Yeah. So I think that saves it. Yeah. Because we have the third act where we have a satisfying like villain death, right? And we get like an entertaining sequence of events that isn't like it toes the line of being too absurd for me. Like you brought up the Barbarian thing. Barbarian crossed the line for me. Yeah. Like it went from being like a movie that felt very serious for most of the time and like very stern and scary to just like it was tonal whiplash. This movie is teetering on being funny throughout. So when it fully like tilts over into being like kind of comedic, it felt natural to me. And I think it's like baked into the movie, whereas Barbarian didn't. So I think that just comes with like Zach Cregger kind of figuring out like how he wants to write and direct and like make it work. I think it works here, but generally speaking, Zach, like how do you feel about?
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly that. It feels organic, like I don't think that there's ever a point where it pauses the movie and it says let's tell a couple jokes about the scene, or like, oh, which kid is missing today? Oh, I don't know, I didn't like that kid, so fuck them. Like I'm glad they're missing. Like some stupid silly. Like it didn't pause the movie and like make a TikTok like if someone's missing, right, call this number. Like it wasn't doing that. What's great about there, like two examples. Austin Abrams, the junkie, is great because he is the perfect wrong person to accommodate this situation. And he's the first one to find the kids. And you're like, fuck, man, this is the guy that's going to sell it. And originally he's trying to pawn the stolen items out of the backpack, right? He sees the $50,000 reward. And then he calls the cops after he finds them in the basement. And he's like, oh yeah, they're all just standing there. And how much is the money? How much? It's not supposed to be comedically funny because it's like, yeah, oh my god, like the kids are there, we all saw it, like, but it's nobody's authentic. Gonna believe him. Like it does sound absurd, and he just happens to be a junkie too. So it's like, whoa, that's good storytelling because it's organic. In the sense that he is the perfect wrong person with a perfect wrong formula to be reporting that incident. And then even later, when he gets possessed, Josh Brolin is fucking tossing him around the lip, which is great. It was awesome because he's just like, motherfucker, how many times does it take for me to kill this guy or like beat him up at least? I thought he would stop and he just doesn't stay down. But it was like, it didn't feel like it was overblowing a situation either. Even you mentioned Jordan Peele, like Get Out, by the ending, or just even I think it's Ron or his friend who works at the TSA. He's just like, what the fuck did my friend get himself into this whole time? Which is exactly how real people would feel if they're on the outside of this and they're only hearing like, you're where? Like, what the fuck is happening? And he's like, these fucking white people, like, what the fuck? Which is great. It's awesome. But that's not like maybe that's a little bit more comedic, like a little bit of the dial, but it's not like distracting to the point. And I agree with you. Barbarian did cross a little bit where it was like, whoa, I was so in with the scariness, and then it just totally
you know what? I think
Yeah.
you were really like on the money when you said that it's not stopping the movie to be funny.
Yeah.
Like I think what's funny in this movie feels like something that would be funny just if it happened. I mean, maybe not to that
situational.
extent. But like situational comedy. Like exactly like you were saying, great example with the drug addict. It is the worst person to be there. So it's funny. It's like fucking of course this guy is the guy that finds it. Or, like the fighting. I think what's so interesting about Cregger in general, and it goes all the way back to Whitest Kids You Know and in some of his sketch comedy, is that so much of it, of like what's funny, is just like doing the same thing so many times that it becomes funny, which is so risky. It's like the riskiest kind of comedy because overdoing a joke is like it could come off as so annoying. You know, like the chase scene that is funny because it goes on for so long. They break through like 47 windows, and like that's what makes it comedic. Josh Brolin punching this guy coming at him. It's not like Rule of Threes comedy. It's like 9 times. Just and he just keeps going, and that's like what makes it great. That's what makes it funny, but it's so risky, and I respect him for doing that. I had something else I wanted to say. I don't remember what it was.
I also,
Go ahead, hit me.
well, kind of talking about the characters again too. Who do you think, like, there's a great ensemble in this movie, and we were talking about casting, but with the cast that we have, who kind of stuck out to you guys that stole the show, like, or like they were the best in each scene that they were in? Like, there's a great amount of scenes for each person, but
I have 2. I
Okay.
definitely have 2. And it's somebody that we haven't really talked about too much yet. But I'm gonna save them for a second. The first one for me is definitely, I'm gonna have to go with Benedict Wong. Like, I know that we didn't focus too much on his character, and like, but he was still a very important role. And it, like, even like the buildup of when we started seeing his perspective, like his performance was still okay, but it was just something about that gas station scene. And like, I think we all, if anyone had seen the trailer, you knew that like that kind of scene was coming. But it was just something about that performance. And then the kitchen scene too, where like his husband, where he like bashed with his own, like that, something about that performance arc too in the midst of this all was just like really amazing. And so like he was for sure the standout for me. But the second that we haven't really spoke on was the little boy, the last perspective that we got. I feel like going back even to like the innocence point that you brought, like he brought so much out in this, and he was almost responsible for bringing out like all of the collective side of the children's innocence in a sense, with that one perspective that we got. But to see everything that he went through with Gladys and to like keep just like a straight face on, and like the things that he was doing, but then like little bits in this moment that like, if you remember, like there's like the scene in Julia Garner's like Nightmare where like he like looks up and he has like the clown makeup on. And it's still him, I'm pretty sure. It's like little things like that. I'm just like, whoa, like you could tell this kid like is really good in this genre. Like he could do more. And maybe not even just genre, because he's still just portraying like a kid, you know, and it's very simple stuff for a child, I guess you could say. But just kind of like watching him and his performance, I'm like, there's something about this kid that I could see like he could do well. And if it's not horror or thrillers or something, like I just want to see more of him for sure.
He's able to create like so much empathy through being silent. Yeah. You know, like just like having like an inability to express himself. I think that's really powerful. And that's also hard to write because you're not giving him lines. So you're kind of relying on the actor. And yeah, I think he does a really good job. I mean, it's easy to feel attached to him because it is the part of the movie where we're getting our answers. Yeah. So, you know, we're like attached to him because we want to know what's happening. But I think that's probably why we've been like overlooking him in the conversation. He is great. I think he does a really good job. And I think he is like active, which I think is rare for like child characters. You know, like he in that like final confrontation is like taking action. He crosses the line. He like tricks his parents and like runs around. He gets to the stick. And like, you know, he's the reason that they're like able to kind of like grab victory at the end. But I also think in your reading, Mike, that it's like survivor's guilt that you feel from him, you know? And that's like such a deep subject to like give to a child actor. And he does kill it. I think he does a really good job. Definitely. So I wanted to talk about 2 different people. So as I said, Julia Garner steals it for me all the time. I think she's great. In general, I think everybody's excellent here. I think like that young lad is awesome. I think Josh Brolin's great. Benedict Wong's awesome. However, I said this to you, Zach, I think it was before you got here, Mikey. I am in love, and I don't know how it's taken this long to get crackhead horror movie protagonist. Because it's perfect. Like, it's such a great idea, and that guy kills it. I mean, like, he's such, like, an authentic tweaker, I feel like. You know, of just kind of, like, I don't know. There's, like, that scene where he's, like, lighting up the pipe, and he's kind of, like talking to himself. Like, I've seen that. I lived in Philly for 4 years. I've seen that happen. Like, it's such, like, like, I know that look, and, like, the way he's expressing himself. Like, he's just doing a really good job. That phone call scene is hilarious, where he's like, no, dude, like, I need the money to, like, get the money. Like, it's just, you know, like, he's just great. but yeah, just the idea of like having a character that no one will believe see unbelievable horror movie things is so good, because a rational person who like experiences a horror movie, it creates that cliche of like I'm not crazy, like I swear, like this is what's going on. But when it's like a drug addict, you don't have to do that, because he comes up and like you as an audience member just know that it's like no one's gonna take you seriously, dude. And it like creates a little bit of sympathy for him, you know, just through like no one's gonna believe him, but like he's right, like that guy's like speaking the truth, and you feel bad for him, and it creates that empathy. Just really like cool stuff with that. Like I really just appreciate the way that that was executed, and I thought that the performance of him was great. I think Scal said that he was in Euphoria. Plays a completely different role in Euphoria. He's the one that's dating Barbie Ferreira. Is that her name?
That's
right.
him?
That's the exact reaction I had. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. He like really kills it here. He like transforms into this like chameleon drug addict character.
100%. Wow.
Zach, what'd you think? Who's your cast?
Well, I would say Austin Abrams as well, for the reasons that you said, but even Gladys herself.
She's great too.
Yeah, I mean, you guys want to have your mind blown, because I had my mind blown like before we recorded. But so Amy Madigan has been in a lot of stuff. She is. You've seen Field of Dreams?
Yeah, I knew this.
Okay, it's Kevin Costner's wife in Field of Dreams, and she's farmhouse, quaint, like young, awesome, fun, outgoing mom. And she's been in Gone Baby Gone. She's been in a lot of other stuff. And she is just like I haven't seen her in much recently to my memory. But I'm sure she's been doing stuff as well. I have to look again.
And they make this lady so ugly in this movie. It's so terrible.
Yeah, man, it's rough.
She's a very good looking lady. And, you know, dude, they mess her up. They give her the worst hairline ever with this wig. They give her like horrible ghoul makeup. I feel so bad for her, but she's terrific. Yeah,
and that's another example too with the humor is they're like your 4 o'clocks here, and she walks in and she's like, the secretary's like looking at her. She's like, what the fuck is this woman? What does she look like right now? What the hell? And then she's got the silver like long. She's just on her deathbed, like for all that in-house stuff. Like she's just crimpling. She looks like Demi Moore in Substance. Like she's just deteriorating, you know,
it's a good
which is great. And that's another thing too. Like the body horror stuff is not overblown in this movie either. Like they know how to use the gore with the, you know, when Benedict is smashing the shit out of your husband, you're like, we just met this guy and he was the nicest dude and he did not have to get killed, and he got one of the worst ways to get killed. And then by the end, you know, she literally gets ripped apart by her own creation, which is great. So that was a good thing. But yeah, so Gladys, man, like I was terrified of that bitch. Like fuck that, you know, like I didn't want to deal with any of that. And then I was also like, you know, the cops, like they didn't want to ask her any more questions and that kind of. I was also like, where are the cops in some of these situations with Gladys? But like, I mean, I don't want to like tail off on something, but yeah.
I get what you mean though, and I think that probably is intentional, because I think a lot of the Whitest Kids You Know sketches are not the most favorable of the cops. So I feel like the idea of like, oh, the police department's fucking incompetent is sort of like baked into this. Especially with some of like the body cam stuff, like it's obviously sort of reflective of like shit that really happens, and like, you know, police abuse. He punches a guy in the face like for no, like you can't do that obviously, but it still does feel like good character work. Like it feels in line for Paul, despite like having like sort of a political affect. I guess you could read it that way. Fuck, I keep losing my train of thought.
Besides the cop stuff, though, so just sorry, I didn't want to tailspin.
No, go ahead
and throw your head into the whirlwind. But the even Alden too. Just like one more thought on Alden, but he was really good at just playing like the insecure, like toxic cop as well as just like a husband. He has no direction in life. He's just trying to find some sort of connection and purpose, and he like cheats on his wife. He goes to Julia Garner a couple times, and he still feels like unfulfilled in his position. And he's like kind of a loser at work. Like he's not on best terms with the chief and that kind of sense. And then he doesn't know how to conduct himself properly when he even arrests Austin Abrams for the first time. and he asks him if there's anything in his pockets. He gets stuck with a needle, smacks the shit out of him, sees that his camera's on his car. Like, that was just great. That's another like organic sense of humor, because you're like, oh, this guy's fucked, so I'm just gonna laugh at that right now. You know, like, it's not funny in sense of the story, but it's like, yeah, this guy's fucked and he's a loser. Like, get out of here. So I really appreciated that stuff. Like, he is a lot of, well, he's not, I would say Austin Abrams is more of the comic side of the movie, but Alden is,
but he's still a complicated character.
Yes,
you know, like, it doesn't lose the thread of just like making him a stand-in for a point, or making him like just a comedic punchline. Like, he is a character,
right?
He like has an arc, and you know, there's like dynamic things going on with him. I wanted to jump on your body horror point real quick, because I think that's really good. I think like the most like heebie-jeebies moment of this movie for me was like, I hate needles. The recurring like needle thing with him, I thought was like really effective for me. Like, the whole thing with the finger, dude. Like, I got the fucking heebie-jeebies from it. But yeah, I have like an interesting take on body horror, I think, where I don't really think that it's like horror. I think that's like a weird word to use to call it body horror, because it's not scary to me, it's gross. And I think there's a difference between those emotions, right? Even Inside Out agrees, dude. There's disgust and there's fear. They're different things. So, you know, with something like The Substance, like, I just saw, did you guys cover Together?
Did it come out yet?
Yeah, well, I saw it. I don't know. Did we cover it?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. The Culture Wave
it.
channel may or may not have covered the movie Together.
I feel like I did cover it, actually, with Vinny.
Did you saw it?
I already forgot. I already merged with the other person in that movie, yeah.
But you did. Yeah, true. Nice. But you did see it.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so,
I did see it.
Mikey, did you see it?
I didn't, but I wanted to see it.
Okay, so it's pretty good. But it's a body horror movie, and what reminded
me, we did review. I'm sorry.
You did review it. Okay. Yes. So I wasn't like as huge on that movie personally, but I think that that movie felt like it saw the comedic elements in horror movies and in like The Substance, and was like, we're gonna do that to the detriment of the movie. And this movie did not feel like that to me. And I think that's like the key difference here. Is like something like Together feels like it saw a trend that it wanted to do that took away from the movie, whereas this movie was like, it feels so natural, even if it was trendy. Like, it didn't feel like it was trying to be. It felt just natural with the writing.
Together felt like it was funny, but also happened to be disgusting. Right. And this one felt like it was scary, thrilling, but had like a dash of humor that was just like, oh, these people are in a fucked up situation, you know, like, but they're not ready for these situations, so that's why it was funny at points.
So not to go on like a tangent about Together, but that movie felt like, to me, like the producers saw it and were like, this could use a couple jokes, and like they went back and threw it in. Weapons does not feel like that to me. It feels very ingrained in what the movie is, and there's no pauses for jokes, there's no ad libs, right? They didn't go back and film any comedic scenes. I feel like it's just very natural. So
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Maggie.
I don't know if now it's too early to, like, I don't even know the structure of how we're doing this, but like, I had a question for you two about Gladys.
Okay.
Because it's a take that I got from the ending. I just wanted to hear what you guys said, just I know we spoke about her. At the end of the film, and again, I don't know if it's too early to be jumping to this point, but like right at the very end, it says that the little kid, I keep forgetting his name in the film.
Alex.
That's
Thank
right.
you. Yeah, because I didn't know it either.
Right? That's a good. Alex. It says that he goes to stay with his other aunt, or his aunt. Remember that? Mm-hmm. But this is supposed to be his aunt coming in. So do you guys think? And there's trust me, there's arguable points to this this theory, being that like the parents already had accepted her into their home. But do you think that Gladys wasn't really his aunt, and that was like a situation like that?
Yeah, I think it's intentionally vague. Okay. I don't know if it's a gripe or not that I have with it. I'm sort of 50-50 on how I feel that it's never really explained what she wants.
Yeah.
You know, which is weird. I was expecting like all it would have taken was like a I'm stealing their youth confirmation, which I feel like is kind of like inferred because she's a witch and like that's sort of how the story goes.
Yeah.
But it's never said explicitly, and that is like a little weird to me. that we don't like totally know, but I guess that's like it comes with the genre. Like it's better left unexplained. It's sort of a half explanation though. In terms of if it's her aunt, if it's his aunt, yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's another thing that's like not really answered. It could be scarier if she isn't, or if she is. If she really is blood related, then that's like a whole other like, you know, route you can take of your family like kind of hurting you. It like ties into the abuse thing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't totally think it matters.
It doesn't, for sure.
You know?
It doesn't. Yeah.
Not to be like, that doesn't fucking matter. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But I think like just in terms of like the theme and like what the movie's saying, I don't know. I would you think it would be better one way or the other?
I don't think it would be better one way or another either. I just think it was. Someone actually put that out to me today, and I earlier today when I was talking about somebody, talking the film with somebody, and it was just a take. I was like, oh snap! I didn't think, and not that it would give or take to the film in any capacity, but it was just an interesting take. But that was also a gripe that I had equally. Like I felt like we didn't learn too much about this character, which was like okay. Like it's not like the worst thing because it is still a horror film. Like you can throw those like things in there, but I didn't know if it was intentionally done to leave room for like a prequel or a sequel. And at that point, that's where I was like, I kind of hope they didn't do that because I wanted this to be a standalone film. I wanted going into it. I can see how they can do something with it, but again, that gripe, I don't know if it's backed by the idea that they could do more.
So I'll just come out and say it. I'm feeling a 9 on this movie. That's sort of where I'm lingering. It's like right there. And I think the reason for it is because there is some third act fuckery that I'm like a little weird on.
Yeah.
Like the other point that I was just thinking about is why she refers to them as weapons, which is so like intrinsic to what this movie is, and I think it means more like thematically. But in terms of her, in terms of Gladys, like what is she using them for?
Yeah,
you know,
to kill people,
right? To kill
like
people,
surface level, yeah.
But only people that would find out about her making them into weapons. So you see what I mean? Like, did she have some kind of plan? Like, was she going after some people? Was she just trying to get the whole town? Because she seemed kind of like content. Like after the kids go missing, no one else goes missing as far as we know, unless they directly like intervene on the kids or like they're getting too close to the investigation. So I feel like there is some like weird stuff around like what did she want? And like I don't know if I'm like cool with it. Like it's a horror movie. Like it's better if I don't know. Or if I'm like, well, you spoon fed me a lot of information, but not enough for me to be like, oh, okay, I get it. You know, like it's sort of like a weird disconnect. So that's like my one gripe with this, and I think I could flip on it. But how do you guys feel about that? Like Zach, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's. I do think she was going after the kids for some purpose. There's also some significance with the 217, and I think the 17 is the 17 kids.
Oh, true.
And the 2, I don't know what that means.
Oh, maybe it's
two parents.
Two parents.
2 parents, 17 kids.
And then the kid, it could be. And then the outliers would be the Benedict Wong and the cop and the druggie. So they would just be possessed. So that's what I don't know what the numbers exact. And then there's the bell with the triangle and the 6. Do you guys have any idea what the triangle might represent?
Because
that was in the credits.
I don't know if this is true or not. I heard somebody say that the symbol on the bell is something to do with AA.
Oh,
it's
like Alcoholics Anonymous?
like a similar like a logo or design to AA. I don't know if that's true at all. That could be complete bullshit. But I thought I read something about that. That is interesting. Also, that's another thing with Together. 2 movies about scary bells in a row, back to back. You didn't see Together, but Zach, Together they have a little bell that they ring.
They have a bell and they have a cult symbol. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was kind of a little bit. That was just like they belong to a group. The bell is that signature, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about the bell. It could just be cool world building. There was just something else that reminded me of. Us. Jordan Peele's Us. Mm-hmm. I'm not big on that movie. I don't really like it, but I do think that movie does a similar thing where it's like we're gonna introduce like a pretty wide like world, and then we're only gonna focus on like a little bit of it. Like Us has the whole thing with like the subways, the underground, and it's like vaguely explored, but most of it's left up in the air. This feels kind of similar, where it's like there's like a background to this movie of like like if you like really wanted the theory craft of like the the background of this woman and like where she comes from and how the ritual works and how that's like tied into like, you know, like pagan mythology or something. Like I'm sure there's something in there of like how it's related to things.
Oh,
But again, like it's somewhat unimportant to me. It's just like I know what it means for the movie and like the point that it's making thematically. But it is cool that that's there. It's like an extra layer to kind of uncover.
Yeah.
oh, okay. So there's something kind of connecting with what we're talking about. I just kind of looked up like a Reddit thread, which can go down so many rabbit holes. But the triangle could be 3 sides to like a 6. So 3 6s, the devil 666. Or it could be the AA triangle related thing, part of the addiction thing that we were talking about, and like the themes of like obsessiveness or
So like, all right, so I'll give you an example with that. So I was thinking about so Paul, right? That's the cop's character. He mentions at one point there's a line that he says about how like if he starts to like feel bad again, that he'd let her know. In reference to like his alcoholism. He's like a recovering alcoholic, and the idea that he'd like be tempted to drink again is like is like this lingering thing. So I kind of thought that maybe you could see the possession as a metaphor of like that feeling bad again, that all of a sudden you're like driven by like a singular goal that is not your own. It's this thing possessing you, and that is either alcoholism, drug use, grief, whatever that may be, that kind of like turns you into a like one note, one objective kind of like obsessed person, right? I
think Gladys is a symbol for that.
Yeah.
I think her character is entirely metaphorical then, that like there is no origin to this thing necessarily. There's no direct thing that can link that origin of grief, pain, whatever have you. It's just that it comes into our life one day, in this terms, literally with a suitcase into the house, and then it just takes over your life. It could take over your life.
Yeah.
So maybe it is entirely metaphorical, but it's through a series of visual cues, which I think is really cool.
I think we could theory craft forever, but I think ultimately...
But that's what's good writing.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. That's what I was going to say. I think that's just what makes this movie so strong. It just has a lot behind it. It's super entertaining. It's structured well. Great acting. Like awesome performances, and even the sound design I thought was really good. I'm not like well versed in that whole medium, and like even like color grading, cinematography, not necessarily my wheelhouse, but it looks and sounds great. I thought. Yeah. Zach, you're more inclined, I feel like, in that regard.
With what? Like
I don't know, sound, like technical aspects.
Yeah, no, there's. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. This is one of the scariest movies I've seen in a theater, and like I guess all of us get scared at a jump scare and stuff in a paranormal movie because it's the noise, the sudden noise or that kind of thing. But there were moments like that Cregger can make something very unnerving. Even like Barbarian, there's like once you find out there's a fucking tunnel, you're like, oh no, man, like don't go in that back room. There's a freaking camcorder and a stained bed. Like he has a really good sense of putting details in the other headspace, kind of like Hitchcock does with suspense. Is like he gives you just enough information where you're unnerved, like, and then when the camera is going around a corner, you're like, oh man, like I just saw Gladys on the ceiling, like she could be in here, like what the fuck is she doing, cutting her hand with a branch, like that kind of shit. You're like, dude, like it just unnerves you. I think to me that is my scary trait that just hits me, is like not something that is like it like killer clowns, like that's a nerve for people, like that is scary for a niche of people, and honestly for a lot of people, but like things that I can't comprehend are to me very scary. It's just like he does a great job at like this is a real situation. Like we know of stories where kids go missing, but what happens if it's a witch that did it and then it's an extreme circumstance with normal people, and you're like, how are they going to get out of this? So that to me is like scary suspense, really good story structure with normal people, and it poises itself for a great story. But I don't know. I sound design too, it's great. And then special effects is something that has to hit for a horror with this type of horror, at least with gore and that kind of thing. Yeah. So, but they choose it carefully, and it's not a Jason slasher movie. It's not Cary, just dumping buckets of blood. It's like something that is specific, and when it does happen, it's in more meticulous and thoughtful than just like Tarantino blood and that kind of stuff. Like, and that has its own style for that own genre, but not for this type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's effective. Yeah.
100%.
So, Michael, what do you think? Last thoughts?
Last thoughts. I feel like, did you want to give a score first before because he kind of gave.
Sure. Well, you could give your score, and then I'll go into mine too, and then you can go. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I feel like, as far as everything on the technical side, kind of just branching off into that as well. Everything just really delivered. I know that the director of this film, the editor of this film, I think it's the same editor from Barbarian. I know he's done another film called Swallow, which is it's a body horror film that I'm a fan of. It's again, it's something about this film and the way that the editing is done. It just keeps you on your toes. It's quick, it's fast paced, but it's also slow at the same time. Like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's very easy to follow and stay like on track with it. And it's confusing at times, don't get me wrong. And like, you're very much trying to piece it all together, but it's like it's going through so much, but you're still able to still just be with it and follow these characters and be just like caught in the moment of these characters' lives.
Right.
And so it's just everything in that, in the editing regard, I feel like was just so phenomenal. The sound, I agree, was just really good. Those subtle buildups, like you said, Zach, too, with like a jump scare where it's like, it's not like thrown in your face, but it's like they could like kind of like get you like seamlessly, or even like Cregger in this film, like to bring back up the scene with the kid, like the dream sequences that we got in this film, like they were very much like the
jarring,
right, and it's like without even having to do like a jump scare or anything like that, you know. So it was, I definitely agree with that too. I feel like those little things were done effectively, but the sound supported those moments, you know. And so and then the cinematography, everything with it, I felt like just the world building too, you know, like there was something about the house that everything took place in that just already gave off a very eerie vibe. But it was so cool to then have the scene where it's like you saw the beforehand, where it was like, oh, we were like seeing like a happy family, and like this home is all warm and welcoming, coming off of what we had already seen with this home, and then to see the transition, and then everything with it, the school, you know, like everything that we got, I just felt like it was very much, it felt like we were like submerged in this town, and we were involved with these people, and we were very present. And so I very much appreciated that. But yeah, other than that, I felt like everything just complemented each other so well that it was just a very perfect film. And so I'll give my score now. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I still had the gripe as well with not knowing too much with Gladys. I'm sure we'll probably get that at some point, but I mean, like, that's just like another gimmick, you know. I feel like just to get more films out, I would love to just be able to get all the answers on one film, but oh well. And then there was another sort of one extra little gripe that I had. I understand. I'm very happy. You actually, Sean, made this not as much as a gripe in this conversation, but at first I was like confused and upset with the fact that all of these people were still caught up in like this daze at the end of the film. But somebody like Josh Brolin, who was also in that daze, was able to just snap right out of it.
Yeah, I attributed that to length.
That's what I thought too. And that's exactly what I put in. I was like, you know what, that made sense. Like, these kids, they were like, even the parents, like they were probably the longest that were like knocked out. So it made sense that they're this way. But that was just like a small gripe that I had. But you cleared that up once you realized, you brought in the fact that this is still a horror film. And like, horror kind of just needs to end on like somewhat of a bad note. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that is like the perfect way to go about this. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for sure.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Yeah, I don't have too much else to say about it. I feel like I got my score out already. I'm at a 9. I mean, you should see this, like, regardless. If you come this far, you probably already have, Culture Wave viewer. But I mean, yeah, really like great filmmaking here. Zach Cregger has kind of cemented himself as someone who, like, I'm seeing this guy's movies from here on out. Really like inventive guy, great script. I can understand why The Bidding War was so controversial and resulted in the poor firing of this guy. But you know, it's a great script, great movie. He did a really good job. I had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 9.5.
Even closer to it.
Just close, yeah. And honestly, I gave it a 10 on Letterboxd, and not necessarily like it was more like the reaction that I had when I left the theater. My girlfriend was like scared out of her mind too. She's not good with gore either. And she was like jumping a lot, but she was also just like that was crazy. The performance was good. But it was very well done. It's very sophisticated horror. I really liked Barbarian too for that reason. So, when I heard about this happening, I was like immediately interested, kind of like you were too. And Michael was like, it was just something I had to see with a combination of a good cast. It's very well cast. I mean, for a bounce back from what they had in development is like insane that they were able to pull off as great casting as they did. The technical side of it, even when you were talking about the house, I was just thinking about again, the distance that we're at from the house with the camera and just how you're really only seeing the dark doorway for the whole thing is like great. It's simple and so effective. It's so sophisticated. I love the order in which we present our events, like we were talking about. If you do this film chronologically, it might not have the same effect, I think, in story.
I agree.
I think it's like really cool how it's a mystery too with some of those, just the structure of it. But yeah, if it's in order and just like seeking out what happened to the kids, it wouldn't be as effective. But yeah, I really do admire everything about this movie. It's one of the best of the year so far for me. I also want to add too, it had a $38 million budget, and in opening weekend made $42.5 million domestic, and then 71.5 global total.
Wow!
So
support good movies.
Yeah,
we're back.
Really made its money back. It's made, I think, double in my head. Yeah, almost double its budget in opening weekend.
Sweet,
that's crazy.
So yeah, I mean, I'm pumped. I'm glad it's getting well received reviews and that kind of thing. We're adding to it, but. Yeah, I'm at a 9.5, Sean.
Great, man. Yeah, I think I'm just going to come out of the gate and say I think this might be my favorite movie of the year, folks. So
it's a good case for
it. If you give a fuck about what I think, go see this movie.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, I guess we're good, guys. What did you think about this movie? Leave it in the comments below. You can also check out our Instagram, our TikTok. You can follow us on Facebook if you want, if people are still using that old thing. Yeah, follow us on YouTube. We have reviews coming out for just about everything. All the local movies, all the local TV shows, everything coming out recently. We have a whole bunch of stuff coming our way. I think Peacemaker Season 2 is coming out. We have Alien Earth I'm pretty interested in covering. I don't know if we're going to really cover it, but I'm going to try to. At all the movies that are coming out, we have some stuff coming from TIFF, Toronto Film Festival. We're coming, and you're going to hear some stuff about that too. So plenty of good stuff. Stick around. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. And take it easy, everybody. Signing off. I've been Sean Villa.
Zach Miller.
And I'm Mikey Peniston.
And we hope you enjoyed.
This is The Culture.